In part one of this three-part presentation, I began answering the question of what is wrong with unsubstantiated beliefs by giving a fictional example of a community of people who believe that their apartments are homes not just to themselves, but to invisible pink unicorns who are also inaudible, intangible, and in every other way undetectable. I explained how problems can arise when people try to feed their non-existent pets, and the 4 different ways that the believers in these amazing beasts might react when they observe the food left for the unicorns remaining uneaten. Not going to repeat all that right now. If you missed part 1, there is a link to it in this video's YouTube video description area. Today I am continuing on to part 2, where I will get into discussing a real-life example of how unsubstantiated beliefs are inherently harmful. That is what I will get to in just a moment. Hello Internet, this is Sophia, the Red Angel, doing my best effort on this channel to produce content that is worth your time to watch and listen to. And welcome to part 2 of my 3-part presentation, where I take my illustration of why unfounded beliefs are harmful to the point of giving a real-life example. Have you ever gone to an LGBT Pride festival and near the entrance seen a group of people harassing the attendees of the event with anti-LGBT signs, a megaphone, or maybe both? It can be tempting to write these people off as malicious, hateful people who are acting of pure malice to the LGBT folk and allies attending the event. But though it is indeed possible that this is the case with them, it is not likely. What is far more likely is that these are people who truly care about the welfare of those attending the event. But the problem is, they also believe, without any sound evidence, that our life in this world, the only life we live whose existence can be actually verified, is a very brief event that is to be followed by an eternity of either blissful reward or never-ending torture. And they believe that which version of the afterlife we get depends on how we spend our brief life in this world. These people also believe that embracing the part of yourself that makes you LGBT and or encouraging others to do so is a behavior that can result in you getting the more undesirable version of this unproven afterlife. So what are these people supposed to do? Are they supposed to not care if we get tortured for all eternity in the bowels of hell? Of course not. You would have to be a really monstrous individual to honestly believe that a fellow human being is destined for such eternal torment and be okay with that. So, what do these people do? They do whatever they can to steer us away from the behaviors that they think will result in an eternity of our damnation. This includes their harassing behavior at the entrance of LGBT Pride events. That alone would be bad enough, but their reaction is not limited to that. They push for laws that restrict the rights of LGBTQIA+ folk. This has historically included restrictions on the ability to marry, a battle that they still have not given up on. But it gets worse. They push for laws that take away resources that many LGBT folk desperately need in order to come to terms with their identity, including, but by no means limited to, the Don't Say Gay bills that are sadly sweeping across several states. They pass laws preventing transgender people from participating in sports in a gender-affirming manner, and sometimes from participating at all. And they even push for laws that block transgender youth from life-saving medical treatment that, when denied because of such laws, can result in lifelong disfigurement of their bodies and may even prevent them from living to adulthood. And this is not even a comprehensive list. The harm that they commit, both in the kind of legal environment they push for and their other actions, goes way beyond that, and is not just LGBT issues that they adversely affect. Everything from women's rights to the planet's seriously imperiled environment, to matters of public health, to even our ability to teach science in school is adversely affected by the actions of these people. Though to keep things simple, I will focus here on just the harm that they do to the LGBTQIA plus community, of which there is plenty. And again, where these people go wrong is not in their wanting to reduce the chance of us being tortured in the infernal realm for all eternity. Basic human empathy kind of demands that they not want such a grisly fate for us. Where they are going wrong is in their belief that there is a heaven and hell, and that a healthy embrace of LGBTQIA plus identities will predispose people to the more unpleasant version of this imagined afterlife. Of course, we then confront these people with the extreme amounts of harm that they are doing to the LGBTQIA plus community. Furthermore, they may have people in their family who suffer as a result of their narrow views. As a matter of fact, they themselves might be LGBTQIA+ and suffer a lot of anguish on account of their own anti-LGBTQIA+ views. How do these people respond? Well, just as with the observation of the unicorn food being uneaten in the fictional example I gave previously, there are 4 basic ways that these people might react to being confronted with the harm that their activism causes. Just as in the unicorn example, where the most extreme people are those who believe that the unicorn merely gives the illusion of not eating, and that the vermin that eat the food instead are part of the illusion, in this example, the most extreme are those who believe that the mere existence of homosexuality, transgender identity, or anything else under the LGBTQIA+ umbrella is as a result of the work of demons. This might not be as a result of actual demonic possession, but could just be as well from mere demonic influence. Whatever the difference between the two might be, that is. They believe that these feelings would never exist if it were not for our rebellion against God. These are the kinds of people who believe in all that pray the gay away stuff and other harmful practices, including, but not limited to, so-called reparative therapy. Next in the level of extremism among the unicornists are the moderate feeders, those who acknowledge that there actually are maggots, flies, mice, rats, and other vermin there to eat the food uneaten by the unicorn, but not because the food is actually there, but rather because these vermin are also fooled by the illusion of the food not being eaten by the unicorn. The analogous group in this real-life example are those who acknowledge that the issues faced by these minority communities are real and make no judgments on anyone for having these feelings, but tell us not to act on it. While acknowledging that such suppression might indeed be quite an imposition on our lives here on earth, they tell us that this earthly existence is just a fleeting moment compared to an eternal afterlife which will make such sacrifice worthwhile. Of course, while they assert the existence of this eternal afterlife, they never prove that it exists. While this is a step above the more extreme groups who assert that those feelings only exist because someone is not entirely grounded in God, there is still much harm telling us to suppress things that are so core to who we are, despite the fact that there is no reason besides unsubstantiated superstition to regard it as harmful to embrace these aspects of ourselves, when the eternal reward we could get for denying such a core part of ourselves is completely unproven. On a flight returning from a trip to Brazil, Pope Francis was asked by reporters about a gay lobby in the Vatican. He famously responded, "If a person is gay and seeks God and has goodwill, who am I to judge?" This quote is indeed a very welcome pushback against the attitude of condemning gay people just for being gay, but people who think it is a sudden move by the Catholic Church to fully embrace the diversity of human sexuality are not looking at it closely, or at least are failing to read it in the context of general Catholic teaching. When Pope Francis says that the gay person in question seeks God, by that he also implies that that person makes every effort to follow the rules that the Catholic Church claims that God calls humans to follow, including the rule about not acting on homosexual feelings. But what about Christians, and in some cases whole Christian denominations, who interpret the Bible in a way that truly does embrace the full diversity of human sexuality? True, there are some Christian churches who opposed, and some who still oppose, the legalization of same-sex marriage. However, there are other Christian churches who are happy to perform same-sex marriage, churches that will give a place of community to transgender folk who otherwise are pushed to the very margins of society, something for which I am truly grateful of a church that did that for me in a particularly vulnerable part of my life. What is more, they consider doing all these things to be a fulfillment of the full purpose for which Jesus set up the church. What about them? Well, yes, they are doing a lot of good in the world, and to say the least, they are doing something far better than what the previous two groups do. But that said, their decision to deliberately hold on to any beliefs without sound evidence is still problematic. But since part 2 is getting to be long enough, I think that I am going to have to make this a 3-parter. And again, the link to part 3 will be added to this video's YouTube video description area by the time that part 3 becomes visible to the public. I hope that you are enjoying this presentation. Please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave your comment in the comments area below. Also, if you would like to support me making more of these videos, please visit my Ko-Fi page, which you can find a link to in this video's YouTube video description area. And until next time, see ya!